Vikings. Skull, Vikings, let's go. Did you know that that's what the Vikings sing when they score a touchdown? In Minnesota, mind you. No breaks with Jamie Erdahl. Thursday, October 23rd. It's one of those days. It's been a couple of days, bruh. But this is the life. Sweatpants of the day. No breaks. No notes. No script. Sometimes very little thought. Very little preparation. It's a lot. But it's a Minnesota Vikings game day today. How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing out there? I yelled that to myself alone in a TV studio. Guys, happy NA Thursday. I'm not making any promises when I'm going to go to Vikings at Chargers later today, which I'm very excited about. I live in Southern California, and very rarely are the Vikings in town, and they're here. The team is here, and I'm going to go, and I'm actually going to take my dad. He turned 78 a couple weeks ago. And I'm going to take him as a birthday gift. Shout out to the gift of the experience. That's my newfound thing that I give, mostly because I don't like wrapping things. No, this was a no-brainer on no breaks for him, at least, and the Vikings coming into town. Got to take my dad. And we're going to go up. We're going to leave here early. I'm going to get him up there. What's cool about NFL Network, where I do the show that I'm on in the morning, Good Morning Football, is it's like right next to, it kind of hugs SoFi Stadium. So if you ever see us do these segments outside, the stadium's in the backdrop. So it's been a lot of back and forth for me. This is the one of very few knocks against living down in Orange County, which I do. And we chose to move down here last year. We spent the first 9 months after moving to California in this area called the South Bay in Los Angeles County, really close to the stadium, which really worked because I had just had our third child, and I needed to live within 10 minutes of work and, get all the sleep I can get and whatnot. But after the first, 9 to 10 months there, like, we need some more space, and Orange County has that. You just got to sacrifice a little bit with the drive. And it's just particularly, like, swimming in it yesterday and today because I have done it, like, yesterday. Okay, Wednesday. I went up to Good Morning Football, came back down. I went to my daughter's conference, which I covered yesterday on No Breaks with Jamie Erdahl with my sister. But there's just some days where I schedule something for 10, 11 a.m. and, like, it has to be important, imperative stuff to cut into the nap window. And that qualified. So I did not nap yesterday, and then I drove back up. I got my kids kind of, like, all ready for bed and whatnot, left them here with my parents. My husband's on a work trip, and drove back up to Santa Monica, which is, like, even north of where I work, to this, like, really cool. I had never been. I have not spent a lot of time in Santa Monica. Really cool beach club. Seeing a lot of the exposed microphone there. That was not pretty. Went to a beach club, which was, like, really fancier than I was feeling on a Wednesday, but here we are. Vikings had an event, like, amongst the team, and they're such a gracious team. They're my hometown team. That's fine. But I really think, and the Vikings land at the top of a lot of lists oftentimes, like, amongst the NFLPA. Players vote for, like, team treatment and whatnot. And the Vikings, like, they always kind of are at the top of the list. Like, beautiful facility. They just, like, have a lot of good people working for them. I'm going to change something right in the middle of the show. It's bothering me. I want you to come closer. Oh, that's a wood wall. Don't do that. Don't do that, Jamie. I just wanted you to come a little closer. That's kind of better. Ooh, now I get to slouch. Okay. Now we're in the zone. So I went to this beach party last night, and I made a TikTok about this, that which I'm not live on right now because I couldn't get my act together, truth be told. It was fun. It was fine. And I know what I'm doing when I sign up for this stuff, which was like 3-ish hours of sleep. And then I just had we had a really fun show on Good Morning Football earlier today. But then it was drive home. I did hit the nap window today, which was super imperative. And had it not been for no breaks, your girl would have slept till 4 o'clock. But it's good to have to get up. And now I'm going to take my dad here in a little bit, and we're going to go up, and I'm going to get him like down on the field. And, it's kind of like makes it all worth it, when you get to let somebody else experience some of the perks that we get. So my husband's coming back into town. I think he lands like right before the game, and he's going to show up and meet us there because he's the huge Vikings fan. And it's one of the sweet things that we all have in common, but specifically those two. So it's cool I feel very lucky. I've going to be able to see the Vikings a couple times this year. And that's a moving, breathing television mechanism, is me just changing my camera shot mid-shot. But I was just like, I wasn't feeling it yet. But speaking of being a Minnesota girl, born and raised, I spent the first 20 years of my life in Minnesota, 0 to 20. Transfer to a school in Washington, D.C. for 2 years. Brutal experience. Not because it's nobody's fault. Just like didn't love it. Moved back to Minnesota. And then my first big break, my first big girl job was in the glorious city of Boston. I love me some Boston. So we're going to take a quick left turn, a quick cross-country flight conversationally, and just wax poetic. What does that phrase mean? Wax poetic. It just means go on and on about something, right? Does it always have a positive connotation? I want to look it up as I'm talking to you about the city of Boston. And so I moved to Boston when I was 23, maybe about to turn 24, to speak or write in an increasingly flowery, verbose, or sentimental style, often using vivid imagery and metaphors. Hell yeah. To wax poetic. Speak or write in an increasingly verbose. That's all I am, is verbose. That is the whole name of the game here on No Breaks. Oh, are you verbose? Are you garrulous? Come on, No Breaks. So yeah, wax poetic. That's perfect. Garrulous. Let me just make sure I'm using that correctly. Excessively talkative. Especially on trivial matters. Why'd you have to go there? Anywho. No Breaks with Jamie Erdahl. I moved to Boston when I was, let's just call it 24. Get my first TV job, and I lived there for 2 full years. And frankly, I'm going to say this, and I don't say this a lot of places I've lived, not enough time. Not enough time spent in New England. In the spirit of, you know how people say, like, most parks per capita? So, like, the most playgrounds per, like, small, plot of land or whatever. I made the most adult friends per time spent in Boston. And I really hold it near and dear to my heart. Really, like, I would say like 3 to 4 really significant friendships truly cut my teeth career-wise in Boston. I worked at a station called New England Sports Network, NESN, in very simple TV talk. What I did was a little bit unheard of, which was traditionally you got to start small and grow up. I started minuscule, and I did this like elaborate box jump to like medium-sized TV job, and I didn't really do anything in the middle. And whether that was, right, wrong, or otherwise, I did it. Somebody hired me. Somebody made that choice, and I landed in Boston at a regional network. It wasn't even like I was getting hired at a local TV network in Boston. Now, people would say that what I should have done is gone and worked in Fargo, then Minnesota, been the number 1 person in Fargo, then the number 3 person in Minnesota, then maybe the number 2 person in Boston. So you elevate in your rank in the sports department, and then you jump, media market sizes. That's how it used to traditionally work in television. I think it's totally changed, and I think when I entered my career, it was like the beginning of change, the beginning of taking non-traditional routes to get really significant TV jobs. So I was doing, like I said, high school cable channel. I've said this a lot. Cable channel, high school football, high school basketball, high school hockey. And then I was discovered, if you will, by this dad in a gym, in a high school gym in Minnesota, Jim Peterson. And Jim Peterson, if anybody wants to look up his name, he is the Minnesota Timberwolves analyst for their regular season games. He played for the Rockets for a long time. He must have played for the Wolves because that's where he is now. And Jim Pete has a stepson, and his name is Sanjay Lumpkin. Sanjay's now well into his 30s essentially, but when Sanjay was in high school, I was covering Sanjay's high school games, and at a high school in Minneapolis, and for a cable channel. Again, I've said this before. I think I pay like $50 a game. I'm learning how to be a sideline reporter, and I worked one of the games that Sanjay worked, or that Sanjay was playing him, with this father in the stands, his stepdad, who's on TV in Minnesota. And Jim Pete comes up to me after the game. I don't know the man. Says, like, I didn't listen to any work you just did because I'm watching my stepson, and I wasn't watching the broadcast, obviously. But he goes, but watching you work and move around the gym and seeing who you listen to, you clearly have a knack for this and what you're doing. It was a huge compliment at the time. And I was just doing what I thought I was supposed to do. There was no playbook, no how to. Sideline reporting for dummies. I was just figuring it out. So he says, take my card, but don't email me. Email somebody that works where I work, which at the time was Fox Sports North in Minnesota. And so I did. And keep in mind, I had played Division III basketball in Minnesota for my first 2 years of college, and then I go to Boston, or then I go to D.C. for school. And so I emailed this guy who was in charge of Fox Sports North, so the regional network in Minnesota. And I'm like, hey, you need somebody for, let's say, Lynx WNBA this summer? And he did. I sent him a couple things that I had done. I said I played basketball, women's basketball. I love it. And then this Jim Pete is going to vouch for me. Summer 2012 this was. So they put me on a couple Lynx games. And this guy was my boss, effectively. This Joseph was his name. Now, I go and I start this high school football season the fall of 2012. And Joseph takes off and goes to Boston. And I'm like, dang it. That guy was my in. I was like ready to do like wild broadcasts and like be the Wolves sideline reporter. Like I was dreaming big at the time. And this guy leaves. About a month later, I get a call from a Boston number, and it's this Joseph. And he's like, hey, I'm the executive producer at New England Sports Network, and we're hiring. So get on a plane because you need to come be a part of this audition. And I'm just realizing now this would be a really cool thing to do because follow me, and if anybody wants to play along, if you search all of these names that I'm about to say, we had like this Hunger Games style audition this day at Nesson in Boston. They were hiring a ton of on-air talent. And here's who was in the room at the time. Myself, Jamison Coyle, who's now all over NHL Network, Adam Pellerin, who's still at New England Sports Network, Amanda Balionis, who was at, I think, golf.com at the time, or golfchannel.com, but now has become Amanda Balionis. Did I already say Leah Hextall? Leah Hextall, who's now an ESPN sideline reporter, ringside reporter, and I think myself. Those are 5 like very, very equipped television people and Jamie. But they put us through the ringer. They did all these different crazy audition things in the studio, and I was just like, oh, I came to play. I was like doing my best, cutting my teeth, whatever. And I got this job. Paid me very little money, I understand now at the time, but I do believe that in a room full of people making decisions, somebody was like, that girl is talented, and she's going to be cheap for us for the first couple of years here. And so they ran with it. But in the TV world, this was unforeseen. This was not how it was supposed to go. It was not supposed to go high school football to Celtics practice the next week, but it did. And that was the fall of 2012, and here we are 13 years later telling this story. All that being said, for 2 years at Ness, I was put through the ringer in the best way possible. I was single. I was working my butt off. I was just soaking up knowledge and experience and like real world. It was the best time. And I hold Boston so near and dear to my heart for so many reasons. Beautiful town, the proximity to water, the Charles River, and the ocean. What you can do within an hour's drive of that place is incredible, whether it be into the state, into like state parks and whatnot, up into other states, onto the ocean, down to the Cape. The history, the people there are like some of the most fiercely loyal people in the country. And that I just love Boston. So, you guys, 17-minute build up to say this to you. When I started No Breaks, and, number one, No Breaks at Jamie Erdahl. Second idea, well, I want to do Crack It Fridays, obviously. And I guess I should do NA Thursday so I don't seem like I have a problem. I reached out to a bunch of beer brands. And one of the beer brands that I reached out to was Mr. Samuel Adams himself. Look at him. He's so handsome. He's so chill. He's so crispy. He's incredible. So it's an NA Thursday. And I'm going to be honest with you. I did not know that Sam Adams made an NA beer. So when I reached out, I was like, hey, would you like to participate in Crack It Friday? I try beers on my show, No Breaks with Jamie Erdahl. And then I started clicking around their website, and there we are. They have an NA product. Just the Haze IPA. Never tried this before. The can says, well, first of all, that Sam Adams was a brewer and a patriot. And frankly, I kind of want to be known as that. Just the Haze IPA. Hazy, juicy, and refreshing, non-alcoholic. Now, I always want to make sure those who are out there who are interested in new NA products that I'm trying, this thing has less than 0.5% of ABV. So there's still it's not like your true 0.0. It's always important to know because some people are doing it to abstain from alcohol, which I can respect wholeheartedly. Some people are doing it for the non-drinking affect. And so just know this does have less than 0.5%. So non-alcoholic hazy IPA. I love a hazy IPA. That's a good sounding can. That's a great start. It smells like an IPA. It smells like an IPA. This is very exciting. ASMR, Sam Adams, Just the Haze, NA. Yeah, that's good. Okay, it for sure is like IPA first. Then there's something at the end. I'm looking at the description online. Maybe amber. That's what it is. I'm getting amber. Even though that's a color, that's not a taste. But just go with me. It's good. Yeah, I'm gonna drink that. You guys should try this. This is good. I did the NA thing. I mean, obviously, I've had a lot of NA beers like when I was pregnant and stuff, 3 pregnancies worth. But I feel like the new trend in IPA creation the new trend in NA is really leaning into the IPA flavor, which is a really good mask. I don't know how you make IPA. I like beer. I for sure have no concept of the science behind it. So don't come here looking for some lesson about brewing and whatnot. All I can tell you is that when you're implying that it's going to taste like an IPA and then this one's supposed to be like a hazy IPA, this hits. This absolutely hits. This is really cool. Sam Adams, thank you so much for this. That's an NA Thursday, but guys, guess what? You cannot imagine. We have to do a 5-beer taste test tomorrow with Chris Summers. Crack It Friday, a 5-beer flight. Okay? Because they sent their fall pack. And I was like, well, the pressure. The limited release. Here we go. It was so exciting. The Oktoberfest Jacko lantern. Ha! Jacko. And then there's a flannel one, which I'm very excited about. And then their traditional Sam Adams Boston Lager. Oh, I don't know what that accent is. And then there was another one in the fall pack that I'm excited about. They do have a Golden Ale NA, but this is just the Haze IPA. We're going to chug more. My husband told me I drink out of cans. Weird. Now I just realized I'm doing it live on YouTube. This is good. I would have this. I would have this many times over. Great to have in the fridge. And, you know, if I like drink a beer or two on the weekend, you know, it's good to stop, obviously. But also, people say that, like, try to avoid hangovers, which is the name of the game as an adult, especially as a parent. You should be like, oh, grab one of these at the end of the night, so you feel like you're having like a third beer, but you're not. So I'm gonna try that this weekend. This is delicious. Shout out to Sam Adams. But the point is, like, Boston. Shout out to bleeping Boston. I should swear. That would be the truly New England thing to do. So I lived there for 2 years, and there's like a lot of stories just within that time window. And I'm thinking about doing this on No Breaks, picking off people from these pockets of my life to retell the story in a very, like, narrow focused way. Because there were some stories in Boston. And they started and finished at NSM. And there's a whole reason that I would tell the story now about why I left, which is, if anybody, no one would remember this. And if you have, shout out to you. You can, like, join my parents and the people that would understand this. I was put on the Bruins hockey sideline in 2013-14 season. And I think if I remember it correctly, it was a struggle because they had they had moved on from the reporter that had been there for a long time, Naoko Funayama. And everyone was like, first of all, I remember the fans being just like, they don't like change, especially in New England, sports fans. They like what they like in the broadcast. They love who they love, and she was beloved. But then all of a sudden, whoever decided, like, we're gonna move on from Naoko and we're gonna pick somebody new, and it was like, that was another crazy thing. It was like the who's who of, like, people auditioning for hockey jobs. Jenny Taft was in the building. I already had a job at Nesson, so, like, I think I was the only internal candidate. And then, like, I remember Jenny Taft flew in for it. I remember, I'm going to blank on it, but there was a lot of people who are still, like, in prominent sports television roles that flew in to audition for this job. And again, who knows how much, you know, dollars and cents matters in stories like this, but I got the job. I remember struggling even pursuing it. But there are, you know, moments, especially in TV, where you're kind of like, do I do the thing to stay as, like, the number 2 or 3 on something that I love doing, that I'm good at, which is, I was filling in for Jenny Dell on the Red Sox. I was filling in on a studio show. I was showing up at Patriots practice maybe once a week, going to the Celtics, going whatever. But I didn't have, like, a spot or a beat. Like, I didn't have an identity yet. Or do you go and pursue this hockey job? Hockey, a sport that I never played a single second in my life. And do you kind of, like, fly by the seat of your pants, make it up as you go, learn, compete, fight, scrap, what have you? And that's what I chose to do. Whether it was the right thing or the wrong thing, whether they should have picked somebody else that was more equipped to cover hockey at the time, that's neither here nor there. It's been 13 years. Get over it. But I got that job, and I was on hockey for 1 season. 82 plus games. The team was really good. Hockey players are my favorite athletes officially now because of that time in my life. The nicest guys, like, real dudes, like, help carry your suitcase, actually look you in the eye when you have a conversation, ask about your family, actually care about the answers when they ask you. They don't really hit on you a whole lot, which, like, oh boy, stories. Just normal people. And I really, really love them for that. The people that I worked with on those broadcasts in Boston for the Boston Bruins, incredible, incredibly talented. I learned so much from that year. However, the other thing that I did learn about myself is this tone that I have right now with you, the tone that I have on Good Morning Football when I'm talking about football, a sport that I love, a sport that I understand, even though I never played it. I get it. I watch it. It just makes sense to me. a tone that I have whenever I covered college basketball in the NCAA tournament and doing studio updates. That is not the tone of voice that your girl had covering the Boston Bruins. When you don't know what you're talking about, just like do this as a classic exercise. Your shoulders come up, your pitch goes up, and you immediately just lock up, clam up. And that was me for 82 plus. I was nervous all the time. I felt stupid. People were so supportive, and they tried. I learned a lot of TV. I have a great appreciation for the sport of hockey now, the athletes. I like going to games. But I did not like being in a space where I felt like I didn't know what I was talking about. And you know what? Sometimes you got to learn what you're not good at or what you don't like doing in order to figure out what you are supposed to do. And that was me that first year in Boston. There was some things that went down contractually for me to be able to move on. And I was sad to do it because Boston was awesome to me, but I was not willing to make the sacrifice and like lock in on being a hockey person because it felt inauthentic. This is a word that keeps coming up. I felt like a fraud. I felt like I'm taking up a spot and a space for somebody that would absolutely be crushing it and love being here in the environment, soaking it all in. And that wasn't me. It wasn't fair to me. It wasn't fair to the broadcast. It wasn't fair to the players. And frankly, the Bruins, a fantastic organization. So after that first season on hockey, I left to go to CBS. And many of you, that's where you picked me up in my career. And that's for a different day. But the whole point is Boston is a great town. I love it. Actually, I've always said that if someone said to me, like, you have to raise your family somewhere that's not Minnesota, I think I would really consider, like, try to convince my husband that Boston's the game, that Boston's it. I love it there. And like, I just immediately would have friends that I'd fall back into. And it's so cool. I love it. So I miss it. And so shout out to Sam Adams for kind of being the first, like, the first brewery brand to send and occupy 2 dates on No Breaks with Jamie Erdahl. October 23rd, you got NA Thursday, Just the Haze IPA, non-alcoholic, hazy, juicy, refreshing. Chuggability. It's good. That is delicious. And I got to drive up to the Vikings game later, but that's Gucci because I have my NA beer. Thank you, Sam Adams. But listen, tomorrow, this is just the appetizer. And after the week that I've had, I had a crazy phone call yesterday that would have sent a lot of people into a tailspin. Maybe me a little bit. 5 beer. I hope I sent the box to Chris too. He can't come for me this week. Okay? It's not my fault if it didn't get there. Hopefully today, then it can get chilled. 5 beer flights tomorrow. Sam Adams. I would say let's spread it out, but they're so seasonally appropriate. Like, we have to get them all in on October 24th. 5 crackets tomorrow, brought to you by Sam Adams. This was the NA Thursday blind taste test, Just the Haze IPA. I'm still drinking it, which, like, is validating how delicious it is. I'm excited about tomorrow. It's going to get wild times out there. I think somebody in the chat was like, a 5 beer taste test, no breaks, going to be fun tomorrow. I really do think, I think I said this on Monday, I was talking about bleep to Chris Summers last week because that beer went right to my head. Guys, that's a show on a Monday. I know allegedly Monday. And if I say it's allegedly Monday, it's okay if I'm wrong because it's not Monday. It's Thursday. Come on, Jamie. Get your act together. Maybe it's that less than 0.5% that's getting to me. Going right to my dome. Yeah, I'm going to go to the Vikings game tonight. Skol. Vikings. I hope it goes well. This is what's hard. Chargers treat me great. What a cool team. Harbaugh's the man. My husband went to Michigan. So here's the ultimate struggle bus. J.J. McCarthy not playing, but there's your Michigan national championship winning quarterback. This would have been a great storyline. J.J. McCarthy, Jim Harbaugh, tete-a-tete, not happening tonight for the Prime Video stream of an NFL game. But I get to take my dad. Happy late birthday to my dad. Skull. I'm not sure that was an NA, right? It's starting to get loopy. No, it really is. Just the haze. Everybody have a great Thursday. We're almost there. Whether or not tomorrow is your actual Friday, let's treat it as such. I'll see you tomorrow on Good Morning Football. I'll see you tomorrow on No Breaks with Chris Summers. And a 5-beer flight taste test tomorrow brought to you by Sam Adams, the man, a Patriot and a Brewer. Skull. Man, Vikings Patriots would be fun. You know what I mean. You guys, have a great day. See ya. She gone.